Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. From July 4th through August 26th, if you use this promo code, you will automatically be entered into a drawing to win a set of all 4 Commander 2019 decks. Also, there is another way to enter where no purchase is necessary. See the description below for full details. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and we have one more day of Commander 2019 previews to go through. Today we're going to focus on the cards from the Merciless Rage deck, and once this video is complete, we will have looked at every single card that is coming out with these Commander 2019 products. If you're curious as to the source of any of these preview cards, just check out the description below. You're going to find a link at the bottom with all that information. Without any further ado though, let's get right into it. Today, Wizards did reveal all of the tokens, and of course they did change the art style on tokens with Core Set 2020, so they have a new look to them. We're going to go through the tokens quickly. You're going to get 2 different types of bird tokens, a 3/4 and a 3/3 with flying. In white, you're also going to find a human token, a Pegasus token, and a spirit token. Last 2 white tokens here, these are both embalmed tokens, Angel of Sanctions and Heart Piercer Manticore. Blue just gets the Drake token. Black has Assassin, as well as a couple different zombie variants here. Red has Dragon. Green's got a whole bunch. Here are 2 Beast tokens, a 3/3 and a 4/4. Here's a Centaur, an Egg, and a Plant token. Rhino, Sapperling, and Snake. You also get a Worm token here. Artifact tokens include Gargoyle, Horror, Sculpture, as well as a Treasure token. And for colorless tokens, you have Eldrazi, Morph, and Manifest. And there's also 1 emblem for Omnixilus Reignited. One more loose end before we get into the Merciless Rage deck. A few days ago, we looked at the Faceless Menace deck, but we did not see the Commander 2019 copy of Foul Orchard. Here it is, still using the same art from Magic 2019. Alright, here we go. Time for the main event. First, we're going to look at the new cards, and then we're going to look at the reprints. The first 3 cards I'm going to show you are going to be the foil cards that you'll get within this product. They are all cards that are in Rakdos colors, so you can make any of these 3 your commander out of the box if you chose to. This, though, is the primary one that you will see at the front of the product. This is Anji Falconwrath. Now, we did talk about this card previously. It was previewed last weekend at Gen Con, so I won't go into all the detail that I went into last time, but I do want to give you at least some highlights since this is the primary card. First off, I would say there's a possibility this could see some Legacy or Vintage play. It only costs 3 and has haste, so you can start rummaging right away. And if you had a lot of Madness cards in your deck, this could be very efficient, something to keep an eye on at least. Aside from that, though, we're here to talk about Commander, and yes, this is going to be fantastic as the Commander in this deck. First off, it's a fantastic Madness enabler. It could chain a lot of Madness cards too, because once you get 1, if you discard it and play it for the Madness cost, then this untaps, you might be able to pull it off again with another card. You just see a lot of your cards quickly. It has the potential to be pretty explosive. And that's important because when you play Commander or any multiplayer format, aggressive decks have a hard time. You don't want to run out of gas. If you're playing against multiple players, it's hard to keep that pace up. This deck does a pretty good job at trying to keep that going, though. At the end of the video, I'll give you my thoughts if it actually got there or not. But this card does go a long way to help the cause. If you wanted to remove this card from your deck and play it in another Commander deck, you could of course put this into a Vampire build. One thing I thought about is maybe playing this with Falconwrath Gorger, because that card makes all of your vampires have Madness. Could be a sweet combo with those 2 cards if you were to go deeper into the Vampire tribe. Here's your second foil card and your second option as a commander out of the box. It's Chainer, Nightmare Adept. Okay, this is a little different. Like, it's still a Madness enabler. It lets you discard a card for the effect here. But it's also more of an aggressive card, so I discard a card, then you may cast a creature card from your graveyard this turn. Activate this ability only once each turn. So each turn I can discard a card. Even if I don't use that ability, once per turn I can discard a card, which could be great with other Madness cards, obviously. That does count for your opponent's turns as well. It does not say your turn. Granted, you wouldn't be able to cast a creature out of your graveyard on the opponent's turn unless it had flash. However, you could discard a Madness creature and play it for the Madness cost. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if you didn't cast it from your hand, it gains haste until end of turn. You could even cast the creature you just discarded, and it would get haste. Couple things to point out here which are helpful. First off, when you discard a card, it does not target a card in your graveyard, so you just basically get the permission to cast a card out of the graveyard. That's kind of nice. Also, if you cast this or any commander out of the command zone, those cards would come in with haste because of the second ability. Same is true of a creature being reanimated from the graveyard, which is a sub-theme in the deck. So these cards come back, they come back permanently, and when they come back out of the graveyard, they have haste to boot. Very aggressive option for the deck. Still helps you with the Madness strategy though too. Maybe I want to choose this as my commander out of the box over Anji, but this definitely can do some work as one of the 99. Grevin Predator Captain. Okay, so here's your third foil card, your third option for a commander out of the box. This one's a little different. It doesn't care about Madness, it's not trying to play that game. This is just being very, very aggressive. If this is your commander, there's potential for a lot of commander damage to happen quickly if the board state kind of sets itself up right for you. So here's what it does. It has Menace, it's a 5/5, so decent stats for 5 already. Now this will get +X/+O, where X is the amount of life you've lost this turn. But don't worry, it's going to help you lose life too. When this attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, you draw cards equal to that creature's power, and you lose life equal to that creature's toughness. So this is kind of the perfect embodiment of a Rakdos commander, right? It's self-destructive, it hurts you, it hurts your board state, but it gives you a lot of power in return with a lot of card draw and some potential damage output too. So I like that this has Menace. I do think this is maybe a little bit better as a commander than just a card in your 99 because this wants to put across damage, and you kind of want that damage to be commander damage, try to knock somebody out of the game. Still will be good in the 99, obviously. I mean, just the card draw potential here is fantastic. So yet again, I don't know if I want to use this out of the box as a commander over Anji, but this is still a very good card for this deck. Also, if you wanted to take this card out and try to build around it, obviously a lot of high toughness creatures will make this card more aggressive, but a lot of high power creatures will let you see more cards. So there are a couple ways to look at this. One way is to play creatures like Ball Lightning or Lightning Skelemental. You'd be drawing a lot of cards and taking very little damage, and then maybe mix in some high toughness creatures for those opportunities where you're able to push across damage. Archfiend of Spite. This card's okay. I mean, nothing amazing here, but fine out of the box. 6/6 flyer for 2 black and 5. Not great economy, but let's read on. Whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to this, that source's controller loses that much life unless they sacrifice that many permanents. Madness cost of 2 black and 3. Okay, so the ability is fine. Like, you might attack with this, an opponent could have to chump block. If they do, though, they decide if they're going to take damage or lose permanents. Whenever you give a choice to the opponent, that's going to dilute the power of the card. Obviously, they're going to choose the thing that hurts the least. Because of that and what you're paying for the card, I'm just not too impressed. Madness cost of 2 black and 3 is a little more interesting, though. And if I could force the discard at the right time, then maybe I could surprise my opponent with this. That's where this card does get a little bit better. But honestly, when I upgrade this deck, I would most likely remove this. Bone Miser. Now, I do like this card. This is a very fun take on Waste Not with the same character in the art even. And if you know Waste Not, the abilities are going to look pretty familiar. But this time they're turning it around for when you discard a card. So first off, this is a black and 4, 4/4 zombie wizard. It is a zombie, make note of that. We'll talk about that in a few seconds. Whenever you discard a creature card, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Whenever you discard a land card, add 2 black mana. Whenever you discard a non-creature, non-land card, draw a card. So in a Madness deck where the whole idea is you want to discard cards to Madness, this adds value. Or maybe I'm in a tight spot, I'm not drawing my Madness cards, but I do have discard outlets and I do have cards in my hand that I don't need. I could convert those cards into some value. This is really awesome, not just for this deck, but I could see myself playing this in some other commander decks. One that pops to mind right away is Verena Lich Queen. This is a zombie, it makes zombies, it cares about discarding. Perfect. This would also be good in Lord Windgrace builds. Basically, this will work with any cards that loot or rummage. Curse of Fool's Wisdom. Yeah, good commander card. You know there's going to be players drawing a lot of cards. Now, 6 casting costs for this, that's fine. 4 is better with Madness, so definitely if I'm able to pull that off, I'm going to feel really good about the value here. And this is one of those cards that might not necessarily get you a ton, but it's going to give you enough of a life swing that it might be good enough. Because consider this, if you do have the opponent that is drawing a lot of cards, they're probably going to draw into an answer sooner than later, but at the same time, how much damage will be done in the meantime? Carrick, Son of Yawgmoth. Okay, so we've already talked about this card, so I won't spend as much time on it as I did when it was first revealed from Gen Con last weekend, but I do want to talk about it quickly because it is incredible. This costs 3 black Phyrexian mana and 4. And this also has lifelink. It's a 2/2, so it can help you recoup some of that life. Whenever you cast a black spell, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on it. So as the game goes on, it can maybe help you recoup more life. But here's the part of the card which is just crazy. For each black and a cost, and that is not just casting cost, but any cost, you may pay 2 life rather than pay that mana. So basically, all the black mana symbols in your deck become Phyrexian black mana symbols. So within this deck, yeah, there's value to be had with that for sure. There's a lot of black cards in this deck. You're going to see that as we go through today. But this is an awesome build-around card. You can make this a commander. It is legendary. Put this in a mono-black deck and just go to town. Also, I can see a lot of players just throwing this into the current Yawgmoth decks. This is the son of Yawgmoth, after all. Although they did say from the lore standpoint, this is not his actual son, but somebody who's taken the name Son of Yawgmoth. But there you go, little trivia. There's a lot you can do with this card. Combos can be had by not having to pay mana. Like I said, we did talk about this a little more when it was first revealed, so if you want to hear more of my thoughts, check out that video. Mire and Misery, this is also in the Faceless Menace deck, so we have discussed this one before. Again, I won't spend a ton of time on it, but I just want to give you my quick thoughts. Yeah, it's alright. Nothing crazy here. Cool that it hits each opponent. Again, though, it's their choice, creature or enchantment, so it is going to dilute the power of this card ultimately. It is kind of interesting, though, that this is kind of sort of a way that black can interact with an enchantment, although I don't know how consistent that will be. Nightmare Unmaking. This is a cool board sweep. I like this a lot. Gives you a little versatility because you choose one. Exile each creature with power greater than the number of cards in your hand, or exile each creature with power less than the number of cards in your hand. What's kind of nice about this in a Madness deck is if you needed to go lower quickly when it comes to hand size, you might be able to work that out with your discard outlets. But ultimately, I think this is a very good commander board sweep, and it does exile. I always like that. Hanji's Ravager. Okay, this is another one that we have seen before because of the Gen Con previews. This is a Vampire Berserker. Here's what I like about this. A red and 2, 3/3, but Madness cost of a red and 1, so you could get this out relatively quickly. It does have to attack each combat if able, which might be awkward in a game of Commander sometimes, especially later in the game. But you want this card to attack because whenever it does, you discard your hand and draw 3 cards. So if you're looking for a discard outlet for your Madness cards, or if you're just out of cards and you need some gas, this will let you draw. Because remember, if you had no cards in your hand, for example, attack with this, you still quote-unquote discard your hand, then you draw 3 cards. So it's just like straight-up card draw at that point. But this is perfect for the deck. You want to discard, you want to draw into more heat when you need to. This is going to do all that for you. And even if it just goes off once and somebody just blocks it with a larger creature, you still got some value. Hate Mirage, we saw this one yesterday because it's also in the Primal Genesis deck. It's actually better in Primal Genesis because you care more about the tokens there than you do in this deck. I mean, it's still a solid card for 4 mana, copying 2 things, even if it is just for 1 turn. You could attack with them, or copy something that has a good ability. It is a little restrictive since you can't copy your own creatures, but in a big game of Commander, you're going to find something to do with this. Honestly, if I were to upgrade the deck, I would most likely take this out, put in a card that sticks a little closer to the strategy. Skyfire Phoenix, this is okay. Flying Haste 3/3 for 4. When you cast your commander, you get to return it from the graveyard to the battlefield. So, yeah, you know what? That's cool. It keeps coming back. It's persistent. But in a game of Commander, is a 3/3 flyer all that critical? Most of the time, not really. Now, this is kind of interesting because it is a card that you could discard and it's not a Madness card, but you might still find value by being able to get it back later. Or basically, in some ways, kind of playing it for free. If I discard it and then I play my commander, for example, then this is just all a bonus. This comes into play with haste. Wonderful. It is decent in this deck, but if I were to upgrade, I most likely would replace this. Now, this would be better maybe in an Oathbreaker deck where I care a little more about the evasion to deal with Planeswalkers. Wildfire Devils. This one's okay. I don't love high variance cards like we needed some sort of red janky card in this particular product, so here it is. In theory, you might get some good value out of this if it can stay alive. Here's a couple things to remember. When this enters the battlefield and at the beginning of your upkeep, choose a player at random. That does include yourself. That player exiles an instant or sorcery card from that graveyard. Copy that card. You may cast the copy without paying the mana cost. Here's the problem. If the random player isn't you, the selected player gets to choose the card. Normally, they're going to try to give you the weakest instant or sorcery in their graveyard, or at least the thing that's going to hurt them the least. Now, maybe they don't have good options. Maybe all the instants and sorceries in their graveyards are amazing, Well, wonderful if that works out. But again, like I said, this is just a high variance card. Sometimes it might feel amazing. Sometimes it's going to feel pretty bad. The other problem with it is it's only 2 toughness. Probably won't be sticking around long. Now, one thing I do like about this card is it can work as a political card too. Let's say the player that's chosen at random is somebody I want to strike a deal with. Hey, if you go ahead and select this card here, I'm going to do this with it. That could be kind of fun in a multiplayer game. Eon Engine, this is crazy. 5 casting cost artifacts, and this does enter the battlefield tapped, but you can tap, exile it, and reverse the game's turn order. What? Okay, so first off, I think everybody saw this card. First thing they thought of was Uno, right? Reversing the turns. Now, there is a card from Unhinged called Topsy Turvy that does something similar. It does more than just the turn order, but it does do turn order too. Now, this is a black border version of that type of idea. How will it play out? Well, you could just play this fair, I suppose, and what I would do with it is once it comes back around to me, I untap it. On the next player's turn, I can use it, and then the next turn will come back to me. So pretty quickly, I get another turn. Also, the people beyond that next player, they're going to go a long time without taking a turn, so that could be pretty devastating for them, too. Now, obviously, the real trick is how do I keep copying this card so I can use it over and over again? Because in theory, if you can copy it, you could take your turn, pass the turn to the next person, change the turn order, comes back to you, goes to the next person, change the turn order. You could lock out a bunch of people at the table. Or if you could copy it enough, you could go back and forth just between one person and yourself. So how do you do that? Well, you'd have to look at cards like Mechanized Production, Unwinding Clock, Amulet of Vigor, Saheeli, Sublime Artificer is another option. Brutaclad decks would like to run this. So there are ways to pull it off. There's actually probably a lot of ways to pull it off. But at the same time, you know someone's most likely going to disrupt what you're doing when they see that happening. But if you could pull it off, yes, you might be able to close out the game a little bit when it comes to at least certain players. But at some point, it's going to come down to the players next to you, and then you're still going to have to play Magic anyway. Yeah, it's a weird card. I like the design. I like that they took a risk like this. Obviously, it doesn't do a whole lot for a 2-player game, but I could see people playing this in Commander. Bloodthirsty Blade is back again, and this was also in the Mystic Intellect deck. Yeah, cool card. I like Goad. I could see myself playing this card in a lot of decks, actually. Just a fun, creative take on equipment. Scaratiller, it's back again. This is actually in every single deck, so we've talked about this now. This is the 5th time counting the Gen Con preview too, so I won't go into the gory details, but I will say I'm glad it's in every deck. It's actually a pretty good card. I could see myself playing this in a lot of different Commander builds, as a matter of fact. Works well with many strategies and also has some combos out there. Sanctum of Eternity, we saw this during the Gen Con preview too and talked about it then. It does tap for colorless mana, but you can pay 2 and tap, return target commander you own from the battlefield to your hand. Activate this ability only during your turn. Kind of like a really, really fair Caracas. So you can only do this on your turn, but what's nice about it is if an opponent maybe stole your commander, this is a way to get it back because it is a commander that you own, not that you control. Or if somebody put a pacifism style enchantment on your commander, this can get around it. Also, if it's sitting on the battlefield, it is a deterrent. People will decide to mess with somebody else's commander. I love the fact that you don't have to sacrifice this for the ability. You can use it as many times as you need to. Alright, time for the reprints. We're going to go through these a lot quicker because we know what these cards do for the most part. Remember, the new cards, the ones we just looked at, they are only legal in Eternal formats. You can't play them in Modern or Standard. You could play them in Legacy or Vintage, though, if you wanted to. The reprints are going to be legal anywhere where they are already currently legal. Here's Asylum Visitor. This is the first time it's been reprinted, originally from Shadows over Innistrad. Beacon of Unrest. This is a $2 to $3 card, so a little value here. Big Game Hunter. This is the first time this has seen a reprint. It's from Planar Chaos. Another $2 to $3 card. Boneyard Parley. This is a mythic card, and this is the first time it's been reprinted. It's from Ixalan. Call to the Netherworld. Another card that's being reprinted for the first time. This one from Time Spiral. Champion of Stray Souls. This one is a mythic. Dark Withering. This is another card that is being reprinted for the first time. Another one from Time Spiral as well. Doomed Necromancer. This is a $2 to $4 card. Faith of the Devoted. Another card that is being reprinted for the first time. This, of course, is from Amonkhet. From Under the Floorboards. I always liked the art on this card. I thought it was super sweet. But this is the first time it was reprinted. It's from Shadows over Innistrad. Geth, Lord of the Vaults. Okay, this one's a mythic, and there's some value here. This is about a $10 card. This is also the first time it's been reprinted. It's from Scars of Mirrodin. Gorgon Recluse, they really hit us with reprints we've never seen before. This one is also being reprinted for the first time, and another one from Time Spiral. You get a copy of Grave Scrabbler. Hedonist Trove, this is the first time it's been reprinted too. This one's from Dragons of Tarkir. In Garrick's Wake, this is about a $2 card. Murderous Compulsion, another card that we're seeing reprinted for the first time. That's the theme of this deck. This one is from Shadows over Innistrad. Nightshade Assassin, this is another card that has never been reprinted, again from Time Spiral, and this also gets new art. Ob Nixilis Reignited, so every deck got a Mythic Planeswalker reprinted within it. This is the one for this deck. And this is a $2 to $3 card. Originally, it was from Battle for Zendikar with the art that you see here. Later on, it did get a foil reprinting with different art for Dual Decks Nissa versus Ob Nixilis, but this is the first reprinting as a non-foil since Battle for Zendikar. Overseer of the Damned, this is a $4 to $5 card. Plague Crafter, this is the first time it's been reprinted, but it's not a very old card. This is from Guilds of Ravnica. You get a copy of Sanitarium Skeleton. Soul of Innistrad is here, this one is a mythic. You even get a Saga, the Eldest Reborn, that's interesting. First time reprinted, of course, from Dominaria. You also get a copy of Zombie Infestation. Under Red with Alchemist's Greeting, and this is another card that has never been reprinted before. This time it's from Eldritch Moon. Avacyn's Judgment, say it with me now, another card that has never been reprinted. This one is from Shadows over Innistrad. Chaos Warp is here. This is a $3 to $4 card, not bad. Fiery Temper shows up here. Flayer of the Hatebound, this is the first time it's been reprinted from Dark Ascension. This actually sees a little legacy play, sometimes in Manaless Dredge. Magus of the Wheel shows up here, $2 to $3 card. You get a copy of Malevolent Whispers. Squee Goblin Nabob, this does see some vintage play in Survival. It's kind of interesting, the older copies, they run between $1 and $5, just depending on which copy you're looking at. Stromkirk Occultist, this is another card that has never been reprinted. This one is from Eldritch Moon. Violent Eruption, another card that has not been reprinted before. This one gets some new art though, it's from Torment, so this is going back a ways. Warstorm Surge, this is a $2 to $4 card. Bloodhall Priest, okay, I'm running out of interesting ways to say this, but guess what? First time it's been reprinted. This one is also from Eldritch Moon. You get a copy of Armillary Sphere. Grimoire of the Dead shows up here. This one is a mythic. It's about a $3 to $4 card, and guess what? This is the first time it's been reprinted. It's from Innistrad. Hedron Archive is here. Heat of the City, and yep, here we go again. Another one that has never been reprinted. This time from Kaladesh. You get a copy of Meteor Golem. Here's another newer card getting its first reprint, Rakdos Locket. This is, of course, from Ravnica Allegiance. Sol Ring, now this gets a lot of reprints, and it is a good thing that it does. Commander copies, which get a printing every year, they still run you about $5. This is a Commander staple, of course, but also sees vintage play. Solemn Simulacrum, this gets some brand new art, and it is a $5 to $7 card, so pretty nice inclusion here financially. Okay, onto the lands with a Calm Refuge. You get Ash Barrens here too, so you do get a copy in every single one of the 4 decks. That's good for Pauper players. This is about a $3 to $4 card, and it is a Pauper staple. Baron Moore shows up here. This was recently reprinted in Modern Horizons, making it modern legal. Now, this actually is seeing some play in Modern Jund. You'll also find this in like Legacy, 4-color Loam, and some other decks there. Pauper, it sees play there too in Mono Black Control, among other places. You get a copy of Bloodfell Caves. Copy of Cinder Barons. Command Tower, again, these are in each of the 4 decks, but it is a $2 to $3 card. Drownyard Temple is here. This is the first time it's been reprinted from Shadows over Innistrad. Evolving Wilds, this sees a lot of Pauper play, and some standard play in variants of the Scapeshift deck right now. Also, this is another card you'll find in all 4 decks. Exotic Orchard is here, also in all 4 decks, and it's a $2 to $3 card. Forgotten Cave, another one of these cards that was reprinted in Modern Horizons, recently becoming modern legal. You're going to find this too in some big modern decks. Dredge, Hogak Dredge, Burn. Pauper, sometimes you'll find this too in Snow Mardu Monarch. Gaia Reach Sanitarium, this is from Eldritch Moon, another card that has never been reprinted until now. and that copy will run you about $3. Memorial to Folly, another recent card that is here that has never been reprinted. This is from Dominaria. Mortuary Mire, you're going to find this sometimes in Paupertron. Myriad Landscape, a $2 to $3 card, but it does show up again in all 4 decks. Rakdos Carnarium is here. Rakdos Guildgate. Rixmati Dungeon Palace. Okay, I think this is the last one. First time it's been reprinted. This was from Dissension. Temple of the False God. This is in all 4 of the decks. Terramorphic Expanse, also in all 4 decks. This sees Pauper play. And you're going to get 10 copies of Swamps. Here's the different art styles. And 10 copies of Mountains, and here are your different art styles within the product. Alright, my final thoughts on the deck. Yeah, you know what? I love the design here. I love Madness. It's a really cool mechanic. I love aggressive builds, but I'm a little skeptical. Can an aggressive deck playing Madness really get there in a multiplayer game? Sure, there are reanimation and zombie creation elements here, but the deck does not go all the way with those strategies. Can't wait to get my hands on these decks and see how they actually play. Now, when it comes to upgrading, yeah, you get some good cards here, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I can't really think of a really competitive build to upgrade this thing into. Like maybe a fun build, perhaps? I did like Grevin. You might be able to do some cool things with that card, but I do think I'm more interested in taking cards out from my other decks, or perhaps taking some cards out of here and trying to build around them, as opposed to trying to upgrade this. So this one is unique. It's different. I do want to play it. I do want to give it a chance. Like the other 3 decks, I do think they're doing better when it comes to value and reprints, but I do think they could do a little bit better, especially considering the price of the product went up about a year ago. It would be nice to just get a little more value in here, but they did give us some really cool cards this time, and they are trending in the right direction. So that is it. We have now looked at every card for Commander 2019. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the cards or the decks or the product in general. Tomorrow, we're going to come back with our Market Watch, which we do every Saturday. But until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.